It's not even been 3 months since BlackBerry first launched the KEY2, and the company is already ready to show off a new variant that's $200 cheaper, and it's called the BlackBerry KEY2 LE. We're not being told exactly what LE stands for, but for that $200 difference in price, you'll find physically the differences are the LE version is a little bit smaller, it's more refined, it's thinner, it's got curvier edges that just feel so much more comfortable for someone like me with smaller hands. I'm a fan, again, of how much thinner this is. You also see it come in 3 colors this time around. The one I'm holding is a champagne version, basically another word for gold. There's also this which is named Atomic, and it's a bright sort of almost Ferrari-like red that you can see on the frets of the keyboard here as well. And finally, for those of us who like to play it a little safe, there's Slate, which is basically a bluish black, and it blends in very well. So if this is the one that companies want to buy and give off to their employees, this is probably the option they will pick. The KEY2 LE, one of the trade-offs is it has a smaller battery cell, 3000 mAh one, and so because of that, BlackBerry had to incorporate some software and what they call intelligent features to improve battery life. So one of them is not really something we can demonstrate here just yet, but it is the BlackBerry KEY2 LE, as well as the KEY2 eventually, will understand like your habits, how frequently or what time do you tend to charge your phone each day. Say you charge it at 11 p.m. every day, then when it comes to that time each day over time, and it realizes you haven't charged your phone yet, there will be a sort of notification to tell you, hey, maybe it's time to plug in your phone because you haven't. That's, helpful, but habits are something that we stick to. This reminding me isn't going to be super helpful. What is, I think, going to be helpful is a feature, again, that BlackBerry says is coming, but hasn't been able to show us, at least not on these versions yet, is a calendar-based reminder system that will look at your schedule for the day and see if, say, you're blocked out for meetings all day except for a window between 10 and 11 a.m., for example, and be able to tell you, hey, you are running out of juice, you're only at 35% right now, and tell you to charge your phone because you won't have time the rest of the day. These features don't necessarily extend your battery life technically, but they at least help you remember to stay juiced up so that whenever you need your BlackBerry, it's there and ready for you. Another thing that the LE doesn't have, which you'll find on the regular KEY2, is that these don't have the capacitive features as before. Now on the KEY2, you could swipe up and pick your favorite predicted word, or swipe left and right to navigate the home screens. Now, those aren't here, but I still think that the keyboard somehow is just much more comfortable than before, in part because the keyboard is just easier to hold now because the whole phone is thinner, but also the keys are ever so slightly smaller than the regular KEY2. They are still 10% larger than the keys on the KEY1. They're still as evenly spaced as before and easy to depress with satisfying click. You'll still find the fingerprint sensor embedded into the spacebar, which is helpful because software features that BlackBerry users have come to rely on, like locker or protected apps and files, require it. Another new software feature that the KEY2 LE will have is this thing that BlackBerry is calling app cloning. We're not sure if that's the official name yet, but it works so far with Instagram, WhatsApp, WeChat, and Facebook Messenger. It's things that you may want to run both a personal and professional profile on the same phone, but don't want to have them adjacent to each other and conflicting perhaps. So for example, if you want to clone WhatsApp, you can long press it, and 3 options at the top show up: app info, clone, and uninstall. And so if you clone it, for things like WeChat and WhatsApp, you'll need a dual SIM device to do this because those 2 apps require you to have your SIM card tied to your account. But if you just clone it, you should be able to see it show up. There you go, the cloned version of WhatsApp next to it. What you can do with this is sign in 2 accounts side by side, which is very similar to alternative options we've seen from other brands. But what you can do here is have this version of WhatsApp, say, on your locker, so you don't have access to it unless you sign in with your fingerprint. Finally, one more new software feature that's been added to the LE is how to use or what you can do with the convenience key. Basically, in the past, using the convenience key was sort of tied to where you were at home. You could set it to do certain things like turn off your lamps or whatever. Well, there's a new option now. You don't have to be tied to the profiles. You can customize it. That with one press, Google Assistant will show up, and with a double click, Google Lens will show up. There's also a so-called walkie-talkie mode that happens when you press and hold the convenience key, but really all that does is bring up Google Assistant. BlackBerry said that this would activate Google Assistant to already be listening to you so that you don't have to say the hot word trigger, but you also can do that just by pressing once, so really don't see what the difference is here. In terms of what else is different, you're really getting a little bit less RAM. You have 4 gigs of RAM here, a smaller battery, a 3000 milliamp hour cell instead of a 3500 one on the regular version, as well as a Snapdragon 636 processor instead of 660 on the KEY2. Now, we don't really know how those trade-offs will affect performance just yet, but again, think of the money you're saving. Aside from that though, everything else remains the same as it was on the regular KEY2. You get the same full HD display, you'll have the convenience key, you'll have a lot of the similar software you've come to expect. When this does arrive in the US, hopefully before the end of September, it will be available, BlackBerry says, at a variety of retailers and carriers, and all 3 colors should be available depending on which provider you pick. So maybe black will only be available at, say, Best Buy, and then you'll have to go to maybe Amazon to find the atomic or champagne versions. It's not yet clear, and they don't have word yet, but stay tuned to find out more. For that and all of the extra information coming out of IFA 2018, stay tuned to Engadget.com.